Well, welcome you all to this is another Taylor Family Association YouTube broadcast. We're going today to talk with Ron about merging files into the TFA slice. So with that, I'm going to turn the time over to Ron and we'll get started. Nancy is here with me. We'll join in questions as we go. Okay, Ron, you're on.
All right. One of the simple things that happens behind the scenes when you're doing a merge is the fact that when two people are merged together, one of them gets deleted. So it's not the same as just going in and deleting a person. But when you have two people that get merged together, one of them gets deleted. So it's important to know which one is going to be deleted. When we do a regular merge in Legacy, the typical thing is to have the lower RIN number on the left side of the merge and the higher RIN number on the right side of the merge, because merges always merge from right to left. And so the person on the right-hand side is the one that's going to be deleted. So it's important to make sure that the higher RIN number is the one that you want to get deleted. Now, what happens when a deletion takes place is the IntelliShare value that's in that record, which is not on the screen anywhere, also gets deleted.
Can we tell them about what an IntelliShare value is?
Yeah, the IntelliShare value is a big, long number that is very unique. It's designed so that it's kind of like a tattoo, let's call it. You put a tattoo on a person that's totally unique, and then you send that person somewhere else, and when they come back, you want them to merge back into the file exactly the way they were before. And so it uses that tattoo to determine where they go in the file. But if somebody removes the tattoo, then they don't fit back into the main file the right way. So that's important to preserve the tattoo. That's what we're doing. That's the IntelliShare value. Anyway, so in order to get the RIN numbers the way we want, so that the lower RIN numbers are the ones that are going to be preserved, we want to first of all select our file. And in this sample, we're going to use the Heber-Taylor slice file. And let me put that on screen. If I can get it to work here. So here's the Heber-Taylor slice file. And it's based on Heber C. Taylor, born the 15th of April, 1860 in Slaterville, Utah. So his slice is the descendants of himself and anybody that's connected to those individuals. So that's his slice. And typically we would make that slice available to somebody to work on, such as Nancy, and then she would update that slice and send it back to the master database to be merged back in. So when I send a slice out to Nancy, I know that she already has a large database of her own. She doesn't need to maintain two different databases. The best thing about Legacy is to merge all your databases into one file so that when you make a change, it affects everything in the database. You don't have to do it multiple times if you have lots of different databases. You just do it once and you're done. So anyway, let's look at Heber C. Taylor's slice file. Right now we can click on Legacy Home, and over here on the right-hand side it shows how many people are in that file. So 1,096, 448 families, which is really marriage records, and 117 source citations. So that's what's in the current slice. Let's go merge the legacy sample file into the merge. To do that, we're going to first of all figure out what our highest RIN number already is in the slice. So we go to the slice, we go to we go to the name list. And this lists all the names in the file. Then we want to sort it by RIN number, so we click on the RIN number button. That sorts, if you can see, that sorts all the records by RIN number. Then we're going to say, go to the last record. The last record in the file gives us the last RIN number in the file. So the highest RIN number that's currently being used in the file is 6,847,375. And so we make a note of that. What we want to do is have the records from the sample file as they're imported into the slice file. We want them to all be renumbered higher than this number. And so we'll take that number. We could use that one as the one number above that as the higher number. I like to round it upwards. So I'm going to use 6,847,400 just as a nice round number that's above our highest RIN number. And I'll show you how they use that. So I'm going to close the name list. I'm going to say File, Import from a legacy file. I'm going to select the legacy file that I want to import, and it's going to be the sample file. And that one came with the legacy install. I'm going to open that, and I'm going to say add that legacy file to the existing file that I've already got open, which is the Heber C. Taylor slice. I'll say proceed. I'm going to continue with the import, making an automatic backup and these other things. And then I want to import all the records that are in the sample file. I could have said just import a tag set, but in this case I'm going to import all the records, and I'm going to try to renumber them starting with 6,847,400. So that's where we use that number that's higher than any of the RIN numbers that we've already got. And I'm going to also make the MRIN the same thing. The reason I do that is because the MRINs are always lower than the RINs. There's fewer marriages than there are people. Okay, so both numbers are the same just for convenience. I'm going to check the boxes for valid temple check and format names. Those are the only two boxes I really need on the import. And then under privacy, I'm going to go to privacy, make sure that all these are checked. If they're not, I can hit the check all button right there, and that'll make them all checked for privacy. What that does is make sure that there's no records excluded from this import based on privacy rules or anything. So we're going to get everything that's in that database. Okay, save that, and then we're ready to proceed with the import. So I say start the import, and I don't need to assign a source, but I could. And you see the records being imported. That imported the 167 records from the sample file, 64 marriages, and the source import is never right. That's something that needs to be fixed by legacy, but when they show that source count on the import, it's never correct. So anyway, that's the import. Now, after the import's been done, it wants to know, should we go directly to the merge, or do you want to go to family view, or do you want to just drop out of here? I'm going to go straight to the merge. In the merge, again, it's going to automatically back up. This is a temporary backup of the file. In case you mess up something on the merge, you can reverse that. I'll say continue. And here's the merge. With the merge, first thing I want to do is a special duplicate merge. So I'm going to say, try to merge based on IntelliShare value. And I'll say continue that. Didn't find any of those. So none of the records in the imported file were copies of records that originally came from the slice. Second thing I'm going to do is find duplicates based on the family search ID number. I'll say continue. And none of those were found. If those had been found, it would have meant that records in the slice file had family search ID numbers attached to them that matched family search ID numbers in the sample file. But we didn't find any of those either. So last thing we want to try is just ancestral file numbers. This one's not so reliable, but it's a good idea to make sure it doesn't exist. And there's none of those. So we haven't found any IntelliShare matches, family search ID number matches, ancestral file number matches. I haven't found any of those. We're going to go back to normal duplicate searches now. So in the normal duplicate search, I like to start with sounds like. That means that the surnames, when they're pronounced, sound the same, even if they're not spelled the same. Second level, we want to make the given names match on their first 4 characters, and we don't want any blank ones. So uncheck the blank. And then under birth date, I want the birth date to match within, let's say within 10 days. And no other criteria down here. And then on the, I'm going to uncheck that one. No other criteria down to where it says take into account the compatible gender. That means they both people considered for a merge need to be the same gender. Ancestral file number is considered if it's there. Family search ID numbers already. And we looked at those two already on the special duplicate search, so I doubt if that'll come into play. And then the fourth one, user ID, that one would never be used in the processes that we're using. That one's an old technique. Uncheck it. And then the last category is compatible parents. In order for 2 people to be considered a duplicate, they must have the same parents. So if you have a John Smith, and one of the John Smith's father is Robert Smith, and the other John Smith's father is Joseph Smith, they're not the same John Smith. Okay, so they have to have the same parents in order to be considered the same person. And then, again, I use the same criteria for the names of the parents as I did up here at the top. So I'm ready to make that work. So I'll say continue. And it didn't find any duplicates on that one. So once I finished with the birth date check, I would next do a death date check, same way, unchecking the birth date. And then I'd do the burial date check, same way, unchecking the ones above it. So those are the normal duplicate searches that I would run to determine if there's somebody that can be merged. So that wasn't a really good example of how to merge, but it gives all the detail, all the steps that I take.
Well, thank you very much, Ron. Okay. Appreciate that. We'll have another discussion about another topic later on. Thank you.